Hi, my name is Vesna Karapetrova, and we're here today on Friday, March 28, 2014, in the home of Mr. Costa Traikos to interview him for the Canadian Macedonian Historical Society. Welcome, Chichko Costa, to the interview for the Canadian Macedonian Historical Society. We're happy that you're able to share your life story with us. Can you tell us where and when you were born?
I was born in Macedonia, which they call it today North Greece. And the territory where I was born, Lerin territory. My village is Dolna Kleshchina.
And when were you born, Chichko Costa?
1928 godina.
1928.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's perfect.
Because, 1928, October the 18th.
Okay. And do you have brothers and sisters?
I do have a...
Yes, there's a picture of your brothers here.
The first brother, his name was Done,
Da?
but he did not live long enough to grow up with us. He passed away as a baby. Then my sister Magdalene, she was born. My brother Nick, my brother Evangel, my sister Olga, and I'm the baby.
You're the baby. And where were they born?
They're all born in the same village, Dolna Kleshchina, in Macedonia.
And how about your parents, Chichko Costa? Where were they born?
My parents, they were born in the same village, except they grew up in the country of Romania. Our old people, which is our dedos and babas, they are running business in Bucharest, Romania. So my mom, she went over there as a little girl, and she grew up there. She went to school. She was educated there, Latin, Romanian, and Greek, and Macedonian.
And what was your mother and father's names?
My father's name was Vasil, and my mother's name was Velika.
Great. Chichko Costa, what language did you speak in the village?
Well, our 90%, our language was Macedonian, but we do have a Greek government, which is they were forced to learn the Greek language.
And do you remember from your time in your village what the village looked like, how many houses it had, how many people it had?
Our village is what they call it a valley, pole, and it has to do with a lot of fruits. A lot of fruit trees, and we're producing a lot of fruit even for the market. Now, water, we have as you know, most of the houses in Macedonia, they have a well, dug well to receive water. But we had a spring water built by all people. My mother's parents, they built a spring water, and they had it in what we call it cheshma. And we used to get water from the cheshma to our home. The village was a beautiful layout, and before 1921, it was a neighborhood of a lot of Turkish families, which is our people had no problem with them. They were working all together. And when they left, which is Greece took over our territory, and we become under the Greek rules, the Turkish people, they had to leave their land, their ownership, which is their homes and properties they owned in our territory. They had to leave it, and the Greeks took it over.
Do you remember that period?
Well, that period, no.
It was after.
I was, let me see, what age would that be? No. I should say not remembered, and also not remember the exchange between Greeks and Turkish
You were a
governments.
small child.
A small child.
That's right. And from your memory, Chichko Costa, you were in your village. How old were you before you came to Canada?
Oh, I was 18 years old.
So when you were growing up in your village, what memories do you have in terms of your friends or schooling?
Well, our schooling, it was a forcible school, what we call it. We had to obey the Greek laws, and going to a Greek schools, which is they're teaching you Greek history and the Greek language. So the Macedonian language, it was left out, or history of Macedonia, it was not given to us.
Right. So
See.
did you speak Greek when you went to school, or did you have to learn it then?
No, we had to learn it then. At home, we were speaking Macedonian, by birth Macedonian, and with my mom and Bobby's, we were speaking Macedonian. But we're not allowed in public to speak Macedonian. So, no, in other words, everything was hidden by the Greek government.
Do you remember people who were prosecuted
Oh,
for
yes.
speaking Macedonian? Can you tell
Yes.
us anything you remember?
Well, honestly speaking, they were not prosecuted to say with heavy penalties or anything, but to be enforced not to speak the mother language. Yes, I see. And they used to say, we don't want to hear that language you're speaking, you call it Macedonian, Greek only.
And what would happen if you spoke Macedonian in school?
You'll be having I say, but 5 to 10 to 20 strikes on your hand by very, sharp branches. Green branches, and the teacher hit you in the little hands, and you feel it, and you remember that not to speak the Macedonian language. And then he'll say to you, do not speak at home here, or do not speak at home. And some children did not pass the word to their families home, so the teacher was giving them note. Give this note to your grandmother, or give this note to your father or mother. Then you bring it at home, and then they read it. Do not speak to your children your language.
The teachers
Greek
would give
only.
this note
Yes.
to the children.
Yes. Yes.
And Chichko Costa, do you remember your friends when you were in the village? What kind of games you played? What you did?
Well, our games as a children, we used to call it kotka. I said, here they call it hockey.
Hockey.
Hockey, but over there it was a kotka.
And how do you play kotka?
The same way as the hockey, with a stick, and you hit the mud-made, ball, because we had no balls to buy. So you make one from mud, then you dry it, and you have 1 or 2 or 3 or 5. So that breaks, and they put another one in place.
Okay, so the tradition of hockey, even in Macedonia, was popular just like in
long
Canada.
before. Long before.
And do you remember, Chichko Costa, some happy celebrations in the village that the Macedonian people celebrated?
Yes, we had a
For example,
we had a wonderful celebration. Na Bogorica, Mother Maria's Day, na Bogorica, August the 15th. And Sveti Ilya, Iligden, that was in August sometime.
Yes.
We had a monastery there, and we had 4 or 5 different bands playing. Each village, we had 2 bands in our village. Another village, another band, and they all having their own area to play, and their people to dance.
And what kind of music and songs and dances did you play?
All Macedonians. Nothing but Macedonian.
And Chichko Costa, just to go back a little bit, you mentioned an important historical fact when there was an exchange with the Turks and the Greeks back then. When the Turks left, did other people come in their place?
Yes, the Greek government brought what we call it Magiri.
Maybe prosvigi.
Prosvigi or Magiri. And they were from the Turkish territories, and the Greeks, they used to visit those territories by making them Christians. And by telling them stories, if you become a Christian, then you'll be able to come to Greece. We'll give you property, we'll give you this, we'll give you that. Which their intention was to take it from the Turks and give it to them.
Yes.
And throw the Turks out. I see. And that's what happened. Actually, in our village, we had a wonderful family, Turkish family. As a matter of fact, in 1942, when the war broke out to Germany and the European countries, and Germany occupied Greece, we had families come back, which is they were born in our village in Kleshchina. And there are some of them from Albania, some of them from Istanbul. Istanbul. They come back and to see the villagers and the old people. I saw it with my own eyes. His name was Mr. Leah. He had a daughter, Sylvia, and a son, Dooley. They were crying like a baby when they come back. Kissing the people, be happy. We give them the house back to them. The house they used to own, it was a blacksmith shop, coach shop. And the villagers, they give it back to them to live there. He says,
and what happened with them?
Then when the Greek government come back, the war broke out, they all had to go. They could not stay. As a matter of fact, the Greeks, there was a Turkish cemetery there. And those Magiri, when they come in, they knock all the graves down, they dug up their bones, and they made it to a farm. And it was very cruel. Our people, they were crying.
And Chichko Costa, you told us a little bit about when you were growing up and you were going to school, and it was forced Greek language in your school. That's why you learned Greek. Eventually, did you finish school before you came to Canada?
Yes.
What happened?
Yes, I finished school over there, and mind you, I went to my tailoring business. I became a tailor. My mother paid 6 gold pieces to the maestro, which was teaching me, to give me the trade.
How did you decide to become a tailor?
Well, my mom, her parents bought a machine when she was a single from Bucharest. And they brought that sewing machine into the Kleshina, and she had it at home. So she used to use that machine by making us little shirts, little pants, something, something to wear instead of going and buy material to and economize and make it your own. So I was a little boy, and when she was using the machine, and I go put my feet on the, on the, I don't know what they call it. Anyway, put my foot in using the machine, and she used to say, children, nera bote konec wizardži, the thread, wizardži konec. Fate si ono da poće porastiš, mama ti da daje mašina da tebi. And that's what started.
So your mom promised you she would give you the sewing
Then
when you get older.
When I got a little bit older, I was about 12 years old. She made a contract with this, Meister, and he says, I'll give you 6 gold pieces. No, he said, how much you want to teach my son the full trade? He says, well, this and that, blah, blah, blah. And there was no dollars and cents those days. She's Napoleoni. And he was related to us, too.
So he was Macedonian in the village, tailor.
Yeah. And, but he had a very good cutting. He had a cutting from professional. In other words,
the sewing machine?
The measurement taken from people, because see, every tailor has a different system of cutting the material.
Of cutting the material,
yeah.
Okay.
Now, to cut from man, big man, different type of a measurement. For a woman, different kind. I'm going to tell you about a woman too. And, for a young man, it's a different, because he got a different kind of a body.
Mm-hmm.
So, when it comes to, I used to graduate in 2 years. It cost my mom 6 gold pieces, plus I worked for nothing. You see, I was there every day. And I had to go from our village to his village.
And where was his village, and what was the business called?
A tailor shop.
It was...
No, just tailor shop. Just tailor shop.
Terzia.
Terzia. Sonson Terzia.
Mm-hmm.
His name was Lazar.
Lazar.
Lazar Przyof.
Mm-hmm.
Lazar Przyof, Terziata. That's all. Mm-hmm. Then I become Costa Terziata.
После ти си почна бизнес? You started your own business after the 2 years?
I was very, very busy in Stari Kraj. I had the police force. The government, United States government, give to the police material instead of ready clothing. So it doesn't cost them as much. See, so it can be made home. So I made all those uniforms myself.
Uniforms for?
For the police.
For the police in
police
your
force
village?
In my village.
Uh-huh.
And my brother helped me. I showed him how to sew buttons. Another boy, neighbor, the same thing. And we had a big window in my room. And there we had a cheshma, our cheshma of water. And all the girls used to come to that cheshma. I said,
and how long?
And the boys, they used to go on the window and go shoo, shoo, shoo.
To watch the girls.
To the girls.
Yes.
So it's a little bit fun.
So what year did you start your own business in Kleshtina?
Oh, the year 1944.
And how old were you at that time?
At that time, 1944, well, from 1928 to 1944, 20 years old.
20?
Yeah.
You were about 20.
20 years old.
Okay.
And then I came to Canada in 1947, and I had a place in London, Ontario.
Okay, Chichko Costa, let's go back to why you came to Canada. You had a nice business in Kleshtina, very successful, making uniforms.
Yes.
And then, why did you come to Canada?
The reason I came to Canada, And in Greece and Macedonia, it was a civil war. People fighting between them.
Can you tell us a little more? Who was fighting against who?
Well, there became what they call it divisions. The Greek division is a pro-king, and the democratic vision was against the regime of the king, which is ethnic, they call it ethnic.
One of the people.
No,
National?
ethnic means you are strictly for the government,
For the government.
working for the government,
Right.
fighting for the government, not for the people, for the government.
And that was the Greeks.
Yeah, that was the Greeks. And a lot of our people, they were prosecuted because they were against the government. They want to have a freedom. They want to have a democracy. They want to have some of them, they become pro-Macedonians. They really, what for? Why Greece to the Nepoela? What you Greece to the Nepoela? I see. And they change the forced nationality to call themselves Bulgarians, because Bulgaria sending the messages to our people, ako вие не крепите, иначе во слободиме.
So they said if you're going to be
If
supporting
you're
us,
supporting us, we give you the freedom.
that's what the Bulgarians
Bulgarians.
were saying
So
at
that
the
means
time.
we're going to occupy Macedonia, and it will give you freedom. But we don't want to be occupied. We want to have a freedom. The Serbs said the same thing, because they occupied the part of Macedonia, and now they want to occupy the Asian Macedonian. See, by fooling the people, we do this, we give you this, we give you that, but we give them nothing. See.
And did the Greeks also promise something to our people?
Oh, no. We, from the Greeks, we didn't expect nothing to be promised. You are forced.
Yes?
You are forced. You do it or you are in jail. I see. You never come back.
So you're forced to...
To do whatever you are told
Mhm.
by the Greek government.
Right, so during the Civil War,
Yeah.
the Macedonians were not with the Greek government. They were...
Some of them independent, supporting what they say, the Macedonian regime. But the Macedonian regime was not that strong to defeat the Serbs and to defeat the Bulgarians, to defeat the Greeks. Because those three, they're as one.
Yes.
See, they're all three thinking for the same thing, to occupy the territory of Macedonia.
And what was your family doing during those war times?
While we were children, my oldest brother, I was 8 that time, 7, 8, 7. And my Vangel, my brother, he was about 8, 2 years older. And Nick, my oldest brother, he was about 10 at that time. So Nick was drafted by the Greeks to go partisan supporting the Greek government. But lucky enough, because my mom, she was very religious. I see. She says, Chelo, because they come out openly hating the religion, hating God, hating Shobarata Crkva. To je laga, nema Gospoda.
So this was the communists.
Yeah, this is that, see. And my mom, she was the opposite. Chelo, Galajat.
They're lying to you.
Yeah, we lied. Don't follow him. We'll give you shoes because we had no shoes. We'll give you shoes, we'll give you this and that. She used to say, my children, they are used to walking barefoot. They're not used to wearing shoes. I say, so keep them. Women, like your age now, going to their homes and calling on people to join the regime. I say, we give you this, we give you that. And this, I never forget, 4 ladies related to us. 2 calling my mom Vuino, three calling my mom Teto,
So aunt, yeah.
aunt. And they're calling on her and it says, Teto, Pishi, that's how the Kimudaime Toa, Kimudaime Voa. My mom, she used to say, no, that used to. She used to say, Shoni da Gosputo.
Right. So these ladies
Yeah.
from the
To
same
force.
village were really encouraging her, forcing her
To force
to
it
give her sons
to-
to the
To the guerrillas, to the
communist,
communists,
partisans, right?
yeah. And my mom kept us strongly. They started putting notes under the door. We had a sister, the oldest one, Magdalene. Her husband, he was taken from home, and they killed him on a mountain.
Who killed him?
The guerrillas, the
The Greeks?
the Greeks.
Okay.
They killed him there because he would not ask them. He will not take a gun.
He didn't
They-
want to fight.
They want to give him a gun. He says, "Who I'm going to kill?" He says, "I have two children, two boys. Kill my own boys." He said, "Who I'm going to kill? Can't fight the Germans. Their country. They have a power. We got nothing."
And
So-
what happened?
So the leader sitting there, he came to Canada here. I tell a small story about him. He says to the judge pretending, and the judge, he was related to us. He was a teacher. He says to him, "Osto deteto, let him go home." Why? He says, "Why you want to kill him for?" He says, "He's got a family. Let him go. He doesn't want a gun. He doesn't want a gun. You can't force him." He says, "If you give him a gun, he's going to throw it in the ditch, further down." So he says, "What is it?" He says, okay, no gun. Let him go. In the meantime, telling the two guys, shoot him. I see. So he went 50 feet and they shot him.
And what happened? What happened afterwards with you, Chichko Costa, at this time? So you were a younger boy at this time. You were
Well,
about 8.
then with my mom, she was a smart woman. She says, "Chelo, there's nothing left except your mouth zipper. Say nothing for nobody to support." And he says, "Od doma, na rabota. Od rabota doma. Don't associate with people outside because you don't know who you're talking. You don't know he's thinking. Stay away." So we did, but then they start sending notes under the door. If your sons, after they killed my brother-in-law, my sister's husband, they thought we were going to go and tell the Germans, because the Germans, you tell them he is a killer or he killed so-and-so, they shot him right away. So they were afraid of that, but my mom, she was too smart. She never allowed us to leave the house, visit our sister. So anyway, they start putting notes under the door. If you leave your house or anyone leaves the house, you'll never come back.
So threatening notes.
Threaten. So my mom kept us down, so we never bother. Well, she saved us. It was very hard.
What do you think would have happened if she didn't, if she wasn't as strong?
Oh, they'll take one or two of us, kill us to stop you. They didn't care. They didn't care.
And Chichko Costa, what did you do yourself afterwards? If you got
Well, I was, I'm working as a tailor, as I said. Then I graduate after the 2 years, and I opened my own shop and doing the clothing for the police force, which things calmed down a little bit. And
what did you call your shop? What name did it have?
Costa
Costas.
Terziata.
Costa Terziata, okay.
Yeah.
Did you have a sign?
No.
No, not at that time.
No, because it was in my house, in our house.
Okay.
A room you have there. Yeah. And I was very busy. Then 1947, we received a letter from our dad, through the Red Cross
So your father was
in Canada.
in Canada.
And he sent a note to the Red Cross looking for our family.
Teacher Costa, when did your father come to Canada?
1928.
1928.
After 18 years we came.
So your father came in 1928.
28. I was a baby.
You were a baby when he
Yeah.
came
Yeah.
to Canada. And why did he come to Canada?
Well, he came to Canada because when he married my mom, they were very rich. And he was not from a rich family. So my mom had a brother. He was very active and a big man. And they associate with the Greek regime, which is the police force and that, and drinking, eating and drinking, spending money. My mom's family, they brought 4, what they call Gaziarski Tenekina, you know what that means? The 4
Containers?
big containers, they hold about, about 6 to 8 gallons of water. Full of them gold they brought from Bucharest. And that gold was buried in Yasli, or you feed the animals.
Where the animals are fed.
Guauro. Okay, now, the old people, they bury there the gold. One of the pigs, she wanna get out, and she was pregnant. She wanna get out and, I guess, give a birth to the babies. I don't know, it depends what the animals were thinking. So she made a big hole there and knocked out the wall. At the same time, she did one of those big cans. She
dug out the gold.
And she opened that one, was somehow nice.
Yes, she dug it out.
She didn't know what she was doing, about gold, but anyway, and she ate few.
The pig.
The pig. So in the meantime, they say, the old people, if you swallow lira or Napoleon or gold, he says it's so much heat in your system. He says, might kill you, or he says, take
it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the animal died, and the pig taker, whoever it was, he wanna, why the pig died, what for, so on. So he wanna take the skin of the pig to sell it. When he was using a knife, he opened the belly, and he sees money coming out, gold. Then he realized, he says, they're talking the Dimko money. Dimko, my dad's name was, the gold. He says, that's what happened. The pig will eat some of that money. And the whole thing come out on the wide open.
Yes.
So anyway, then my uncle, my mom's brother, he got wild.
He was
Drinking, spending money. See, he says, even you feeding the pig's money, gold, he says, and you won't let me, he says, spend the money, say to his mom. And my Baba, she was so quiet little lady. And my dad, and my Baba says to my dad, Vasile, but that je to very jealous very. Si veli ti ke zemiš stokata, ti ke zemiš всичко. Begaj nekaj veli, da omekni veli, mora se meni veli, udi nekaj. So he chose to go, he had a cousin in Detroit. He sent a letter to his cousin in Detroit, and the cousin says, yes, he says, come on over, there's a room for you. So my dad, he left, but when he came to the border, the Americans, they were not allowing a person with family. He says, you're married? Married. Your family? Started, no, I'm sorry, he says, you can't come to the United States. Then he stayed in Canada. You see, he was forced to stay here. And then there was I don't know exactly what year, but anyway, then 1947, after the war broke out, he sent us a letter with the Red Cross. And Red Cross came and looking for us.
So all this time, for 18 years, your father didn't have any communication with
Oh
you?
yeah, no,
He
we had. But there was no jobs, it was, very, very weak. It was a very weak. Anyway, then, but he had a business, just below Exhibition, used to be airport there, and he had two snack bars at the airport, so he was cheap and busy.
So your father was here
Yeah.
and
Oh,
starting
yeah.
his own
Yeah.
businesses.
Then he opened up two gasoline stations in London, Ontario, one Shell, one British Petroleum. When we came to Canada, that's where we went, in London. And I work on the pumps, gas, and a lot of Americans, they were coming. It's one guy, he says to me, 7-Up, the drink come out that time.
Yes?
And he says, we didn't have the refrigeration, all with ice, basically. You gotta put a block of ice in the fridge, then you put your pop to cool off. So he goes and looks at, no 7-Up. I don't know what he was talking. I said, it's 7 down. Tommy must 7 down. 7 down. It was just May. Just May, 7 down.
Yeah.
Give me $1, silver $1. Keep.
Okay.
He says, what language do you speak? I said, just Neno show me very. And my dad, he says, to Petra Crnio, što jazik govoriš? My dad, he says, I said, Macedonian. He says, yeah. No 7 down.
And Shishko Costa, did you come to Canada by yourself?
No, my mom, my widow sister, and our 2 children. Yeah,
Yes.
we came all together here, 5 of us, and always working with my dad.
And how about the brothers? Everybody came?
Then my dad passed away in 1951, and I took over the restaurant, and I could not carry on. I had to sell it. Then I bought a home over there, 6 bedrooms, living room and dining room, and a kitchen. Then I brought my oldest brother Nick, I brought Vangel, I brought my sister Olga, all in one house. 15 people, except Magdalene, she got remarried. Anyway, then we sit on a big table, and my mom, but when I bought the house, I bought it and registered on my mom's name. And the lawyer, Mr. Delaney, says, yeah, but you spend your money, and you're going to work, it says, to pay off the mortgage, but you have no house. I said, listen, I'm not married. I don't need no house. But my mom, she needs a house. Because when I got married, they said, and my wife, she doesn't want a mother-in-law, she doesn't like my mom, then where my mom's going to go? This is the way I say, my mom wants the house. If my wife doesn't like it, my wife, she can move. My mom, she stays.
So you were thinking ahead.
Yeah, and he says, not many people, he says, using. He says, you're right. And sure enough, I brought the whole 15 people in that house, 15 people, and we sit in one big table. We still have the table long. And I said, today we're going to have a meeting. And he said, what kind of meeting they ask questions? I say, the financial. My mom, I say, cooking, baking, look after the children, feed them. For what? I say, whose money she's spending? She said, to a pension, $160. She's using that money to feed your children. I'm sorry, I say. Each person working is going to give my mom $10. So I say, you're all going to donate $10 to my mom? I say, and then to look after your children. Otherwise, I say, you find a way to look after your children, and you're working. He says, yes. And we agree, and the whole life we are together. Even today, we bought the farm together. I bought the farm. I put them there as the owners, so we all own the farm.
Chico Costa, let's just back off a little bit to when you came to Canada. You came with your mom and your sisters.
Yeah.
What was that trip like?
Well, as far as the transportation,
Yes.
the transportation was very good. It was a Canadian plane.
From where?
It was from Toronto. From Toronto here. It came to Salonika in Greece.
Yes.
And we had over there we had an agent, which is doing our papers, and he says soon aeroplane comes from Canada, you'll be the first one to get on, and that's what happened.
And it was a Canadian plane.
Canadian plane, yeah.
And what year was that, Chico Costa?
1947, June. Sometime in June.
So you came directly from Solon to
From
Toronto?
Salonika, Montreal, Toronto.
Okay. And when you came here, you landed in Toronto. Who greeted you?
Oh, it was my father.
And your father lived in Toronto or in?
No, my father was living in London, Ontario. He had the gasoline stations there.
So he was living
In London, Ontario, yeah.
Instead of Toronto.
Right.
He wasn't living in Toronto.
Not at that time.
No.
But before he was, before he go to London, he was living in Toronto. And then when he wanted to be built up to have enough space for his children, he was thinking for the family, he went to London for more space, more room to, and business too. Yeah.
So you went and joined your father straight to London?
Straight to London.
Okay. Yeah. And what did you, so did your father have a business in London?
Yes.
Can you tell us about that?
Well, my father, he bought a property on number 3 highway between London and St. Thomas. That's number 3 highway. And when we came, another way he showed us what is going on. And because my mom, she grew up in business, and she was familiar what business needs. So my father started talking about, the operation. He had a big grocery store.
In London?
In London. He had a restaurant and 2 gasoline stations. So he was a busy man. And the house was at 28 rooms, the house.
In London?
In London. And upstairs he had a local police station upstairs and local bell telephone station in the same building. So he was teaching me, how to take money from the customers. He was teaching me how to give change. And he told my mom, you were 18 years without me. You did all the cooking, raising the children. Now it's my turn. You're going to sit there, he says, like a guest. And that's exactly what he did. She only allowed my mom to cook. She was not allowed to wash, nothing.
Who did that?
He was doing the cooking, and he put a lady to do the washing.
Wow.
Yeah, they were working in the restaurant. And he was a wonderful father. Yeah. He was a wonderful father.
Chichko Costa, in London, when you were there and joined your father, your mother, your family, were there other Macedonian families in London?
Only one family, and 1, 2, 3 single people.
Right. And how long did you stay in London?
In London, we stay 1949. Oh boy, I see, but 6 years.
6 years.
Yeah.
And did you socialize during that time with people in Toronto? Did you go to picnics?
Oh yes.
Yes?
My dad was a number one for that.
Yes, and we have a
Yeah,
nice
my
picture
dad.
here of a picnic.
Yeah. Yeah. That's my mom. That's my mom. Oh, here is it. There. That's my dad. And that's my sister Magdalene, the one that killed her husband. And this is their children, 2 boys.
Your mom's.
And that's my mom.
The children are,
This is Magdalene's, the one that killed her husband.
so she had 2 boys.
2 boys, yeah, when they killed their husband. Yeah.
And those are other Macedonian.
This,
From your village?
yeah, relatives and friends here, yeah. Yeah. It was my wife's father here someplace. I don't recognize them because they're young here. That's her uncle there. I can't see them. Anyway, and my wife and I were on the top of there's rocks.
Chichko Costa, we have a picture here of you and your wife just when you met in those early days,
Right.
and you saw her at the picnic.
Right.
Yes, and you didn't make it into the first picture, but you made it into the second one. Can you
The
tell us about
right.
that?
Well, I wasn't going to come to the picnic, but because my father, he was a very, very attached to liking my girlfriend, and you want to somehow, for us to be closer and make sure we become husband and wife by pushing me a little bit more and what I thought. I see, he forced me, he says, son, it's going to be a picnic in Bronte, and I want you to be there, he says, and he bought me a pair of brown shoes. He says, you're going to put those shoes, or brand new shoes, to the picnic. And he says, don't worry, he says, about me. I said, I want you to get that girl, he says, to be in your family.
How did you meet her?
Okay, now that's a very good question. On the way to Canada, in Lerin, we have an uncle there, which was my father's stepbrother. And next door, high-rise in an apartment building, it was a relative of my mom's. At the same time, my wife's family, they were relatives in the same building they had. And her aunt, my wife's aunt, she was taking the pictures in a small park in Lerin, and I stand over there and watching the photographer taking the picture. And she saw me. She says to me, "Are you not Costa from Kleshina?" I said, "Yes." She says, "Ha!" He says, "You know something?" I said, "What?" "We're just talking about you." He says, "You know," he says, "my niece, Velika?" I said, "Yeah." She's your niece? He said, "Yeah. I heard something about Velika and you. If it's true," she says, "you go to that building over there, and she's on the top balcony right now." I see. Rather well to myself, "Gee, these people, they know everything and I know nothing." I said, "Okay, Strino," I call her. Strino. I said, "Okay, Strino." So I go slowly. So, oh, I rent a bicycle. So I rent a bicycle because I want to show off, right? I go with a bicycle and I stop there and I'm looking on the balcony. And here she is there, but can't see too much. Just a Sharena Fustanche she had there, you know. And she's standing there. I go like this, I look up and say, I go like this. She doesn't move.
Uh-huh.
I go again. She doesn't move. So I give up. And not too long after, I go in, I leave the bike there, and I say to my mom, I said, "Mamo, znaš, to je čupeto, što vereš da ženata gore na Balkanu, jemu na dedo ilo bilniku, abrećedo, abrećedo detinska, you know, and there were children. I didn't say nothing. So and I wait and I wait. Finally, she come down, when the sun down. She comes down. I said, "Ti si Velika?" She says, "Yeah, ti me znaš mene because when my brother Nick's wedding, it was raining, and there was a wedding in the village. Their relatives, and she was at the wedding, but their gumno, it was a muddy, and our gumno, it was all nice in tiles.
Yeah, that's the square in the village.
Yeah,
Yes. Uh-huh.
and people, all the girls, they came into dancing in our yard because there was no mud. You see, and she came. That's the time I saw her. You know, and then when we met closer, I said, "I know you. Come znaš mene." You know, she was tough. I said, "Ti dojaka nas na gosti." Yeah.
Uh-huh.
She says, "What do you mean vas na gosti?" Yeah. Ti doje na Panayoti svadbata. But they said na Panayoti dojaka nasa svadba.
Right.
Oh, vije se so gumno to ploče. E mi šao premio, imaš je kal. Da si igraše tamo, zato da ome kaj vas. Si doje da viš kućata mora, da me viš i mene. I know. So anyway, daj kjete nije ćemo Kanada, mi nije vo Kanada.
So they were also going to come to Canada
Yeah.
with the wife. Uh-huh.
So, okay, time came now, we're going to take the train, go to Salonika, from Salonika, take the boat to go to Athens. So because they did not travel before, they were a little bit amateur for traveling. Her mom, she didn't know which is the better on the boat, on the top or on the bottom. My mom, she was smart. She says, when you travel with a boat, never go below, she says, only the top level. The air is fresh, you know, and the boat is not moving as hard. She says, and it's safe, you don't have to breathe up. I said, so she kept us on the top of the boat. They go on the bottom, and they had a Baba with them, my father-in-law's mother. So they were her mother, my wife, her brother, and the Baba, 4 people. Okay. So we sit on the top of the boat, and my mom, she brought some kibasi and that from the village. And she comes up from down below, holding her mouth. She bring it up, sick looking. And my mom, I didn't pay no attention. My mom says, "Kaj ste vreće do? Što bre, dolu ste, dolu. Ah, dolu. Nojko pa da ne ojte dolu. See what happens, you know, she probably blew out the will, ne može jajiš, she can't rest, really. Go da se kačite. So she called her mom and everybody come upstairs. Well, we stay there, nobody's talking. So finally I go on the boat, what do you call them, kako vi kažete,
Nadvor, on the balcony?
on the balcony, so
Yes.
anyway, all the time we said, now what if taka, you know, and watching the dolphin racing the boat.
Uh-huh,
I see, and she comes too.
uh-huh.
And she says to me, kaj ojte vi? Mora po Canada. Oh, you knew about Canada. I mean, what city you going? She says, nijemo u Toronto. I say, well, nijemo u London. I mean, kada je London? Ne znam, vola se ako će ojme, vola će oću najme, vola kada je London. Nije ćemo u Toronto, veli. Well, maybe that's not very far, vola London, Toronto. Veli, ne znam veli koliko daleko, ne znam veli. A it's okay, vola, ako će doji vreme, to vola, ću najme. Ću najme, vola, Toronto. I mean, yeah, Toronto. And veli, kaj ću najde, veli, gradišta se golemi. You never know, vola, znaš se berat piknik prat, lujete, vola, svadbi prat, vola, you never know, vola. Može, vola, da biti svadbata tvoja, vola, na same day as my svadba, vola. Who knows, who knows, vola. A ti kako, koliko krojiš ti i svadbi, i svadbi krojiš. Vola, sure, vola, koliko godini si ti, vola? Ja sam 17, ja sam 18, vola. Ja, vola, uštruva, vola, 20, vola. Ja. I će sad počinati svadbe, vola.
So you were giving her suggestions.
Ja, možda doja,
on
vola,
getting
na
married.
tvojata svadba, vola. Ali ti kad doš na moja svadba, vola, who knows, vola, što znaš, vola. Ti kako ja misliš, mi se puli. No, ne znam je kako ja mislim, vola, tako si vela, jasno, vola. So, anyway, blah, 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 we ended up in the same hotel.
Uh-huh.
The agency, they ran the same hotel.
U Salonika.
U Salonika.
Uh-huh. And then you met...
I tamo šta što pravi? Ti majka mu vika pari nemame. Vola, jaz kad čuvam, vola, da vzema tura grozdje, vola, tura fruto, vola. A reko ste, veli, blaj si vi, veli, nemame pari, nije, veli, gladni se decata, veli. Vola, strino ne bi ga jem, vola. Ja se kupla. So, što kupiv? Vola, the guy was selling the grapes. Vola, kukuparija grozio to. I to kuparija. Abi, kukuparija se zrnata, he had only loose.
Solun.
Zrna. Kupa je zrnata half a price. Oh, vola, daj mi jedna oka zrna, vola. So I got no money to buy zrna. Izjemte zrnata. I se šapra. Da mu dam na mata majka, ali da mu dam na dva majka. Mene više žal za decata, i nije dečinata, na sestra mi bila dvete. Tako reku, I'm gonna go back to the guy, I'm gonna buy grapes, sedne će kupa pa. I mu dao na majka mu, na velika. Stirao na, ne se ovo je bola, to kuvaj mu, pa zrna se mu, izmijete mu. Čedo, kako, veli, ubaj se, tako. I tako, in the evening, she climbed water, da se topli. We can't afford to, hot water, you have to pay for the hot water. So šopreme se neka, kakje se mijeme. And the girl se saka kosa da se izmije, da se bude praci. Veli, nema što se da se izmija. Mata majka smart. Rečeno, zemlja tako napolnije voda, veli, kladije na sance. Kje se stopli, veli, da se stemni, veli, kje se stopli voda, veli. Da klaja tamo ta, se stopli. But me, without realizing, stara mu se upolonjata voda. Da se izmija nozete. I to je tamo, veli, strinuo vodate, neko im ja zede, veli, mi uspravda. A, to dete, to veli, Kosta ima zemljeno voda, veli. Veleše za nozet da se im je, veli.
Yeah, so you met and then you continued your friendship, and now we have a beautiful picture of you here. Can you tell us about that, of both of you? 1952 it says.
1952. 1952, we got engaged, so Verica, and it was a Christmas time, December the 21st. She sent me a Christmas card, and that was the card. The card was that flower and this flower, 2 roses.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom, she got the card and she opened it. I veli, Čedo, no ulična karta ti puši velika. I počne da veži. I nje daje ovak kart.
So your mom,
my mom, she made the copy of the card. Yeah. I se upravi ime to tamo.
Yes.
From Mama Velika.
It's beautiful. And Chichko Costa, this is your engagement in 1952.
52.
Then when did you get married?
We got married in 1953.
Now, by this time, were you living in Toronto or in London?
No, in
still?
Toronto.
You had moved in Toronto.
Oh, yeah. Moved.
And when you came to Toronto, what did you do in terms of your business?
Well, in Toronto, I was helping my father. He had a restaurant on Kingston Road.
Kingston and
Kingston and Victoria.
yes, and what was the name of the
Melbourne.
restaurant?
Melbourne restaurant. Tamo imaše Melbourne Collegian.
Yes, Collegiate. It's still there.
Yeah,
Melbourne Collegiate.
yeah, and a lot of students, passing by, and this is why my dad he made it Melbourne Collegian
Melbourne Collegiate Restaurant.
restaurant. Yeah.
And tell us
So,
about that.
and
How long did you
my
work
father-
there? What did you do?
Okay, and my father, 1951, it was a Macedonian dance, and the guy selling the tickets, he came and wanted to sell tickets to my dad for the dance. And there was no way my father can go to the dance because of the restaurant. So this guy, Boris, his name was, from Vrbeni, he says, okay, he says, Pušio Costa. But that's all neka doat. And he says, yes, Costa, he says, da doji. So he comes to me and he says, Čedo, večer ćeš na dancu.
Okay.
And but my dad, he opened the place at 6 o'clock in the morning. Mola tate, ti mene ne puši na dancu mu vela. All day ja bih doma mu vela. I sam me pušiš na dancu. Ti mu vela što je praviš mu vela. Are you going to work mola all day and all night? No, mola. That's not family affair mu vela. Ti da uđeš sa mama mu vela na dancu mu vela. Ki se vide su prijatelje mu vela. Ja se do na drugi danc, ću na drugi danc mu vela. So čubeto. Noće do. Сега ти е времето ти идеш на денцо.
So he really wanted you to go to that dance.
Yeah. So I had no choice. Okay, tate, I'll go to the dance. So, but Velika, she was one of those very, very old-fashioned. So we go to the dance. E si è fatto amica Moro. E Madame Riccardo si è fatto domine. Ta prevaca. Sì? Čekanje koji drugi da se fati dome, se ne ta se fati. No way da se fati zaraka. I taka pominame večerta. Ko se ide doma, my father had a stroke.
That very night.
Very night. He imaše hemorrhage in the brain. And imaše mnogo merak za Velika. But no luck. And anyway, after 1953, engaged, and se žena me toga.
So then you got married.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
And we have a wonderful picture of your family as
Yeah.
your children were coming and growing up.
Yeah.
Yes. And you can tell us how
Well,
many kids you have.
Well, the first child was Johnny born, and that it was born 1954, and then 1955 Bailey was born, and when Kennedy died,
61 or 62?
61,
No, maybe it
62.
was later on, yeah.
Yeah,
60s.
Linda, she was born.
Uh-huh.
This one here. And that's a little Donna.
She's your baby.
She's the baby. Yeah, but Tina, Velika, she suffered very much on Belly's birth. Because that's the time of the nuns. They sent her home bleeding to death. Yeah,
So she needed some time to
Yeah,
recover.
but wonderful children God gave us.
And Chico Costa, in London, you were working as a
Tailor.
As a tailor.
Yeah.
Tailor. Then when you came with your father,
Speda you the tailors.
what's the name again?
Speda you the tailors.
Spedayu the
Speda you,
tailors.
yeah.
And that was your own business, or was it something?
Well, I had a partner, an Italian guy. He owned the shop first.
Right.
And my father, he says to me, Cinco, you cannot, you have a trade. And your trade, he says, you cannot grow without the language. You must learn deeper into the language and to know, he says, the English style way. And to know, he says, to you, who's the customer you want, and so on. Anyway, I said, what are we going to do? I'll take you to a tailor shop, an Italian family, and I'm going to ask them if they allow you to enter the shop and work there with no pay, which is they cannot refuse. I said, well, okay, you can try. So we go there, and followed by the name Antonucci. My dad is rough. My daddy used to go over there, and he knew the guy. He says, I have my son here, and he's a tailor. Is there any chair for him? He says, no, not right now. He says, I got the two sons, he says, I got my nephew, I got my niece, and I said, well, too many. He says, but are they all professionals? Well, he says, they're doing one thing or another. He said, he's a professional. I'm not just giving you, I said, just anybody. He says, but still he has to get paid. So he says, no. He says, no money. I say, I asked you to give him a job, not to pay him. Well, in that case, he says, welcome to it. You see? And he says, come on in. So he took me in. He says, that's your machine, that's your chair. I say, anything comes, he says, work on it. Okay, my dad and him, they shake hands, my dad left. In about 2-3 days, this young lady comes. And it happened to be John Labatt's daughter. And I didn't know.
From Labatt's Beer.
From Labatt Beer, John Labatt's daughter. And she's carrying a material on her arm there. And she says, Mr. Antonucci. She was there all the time cleaning clothing and so on. He says, yes, blah, 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 whatever her name was. He said, I have any here material. I want you to make me some breeches. She used to ride horses.
Yes.
And she needs new breeches. And he says, I never made breeches, he says. He said, but that's easy, yeah. I'll give you samples. I'll give you these breeches, same as this. But I can't, blah, 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 this and that, and I'm just listening. So she says, okay, give me the material, and so she go. I say, hey, boss, stop. I can speak very good. I say, stop. He says, yeah, what is it you want? I said, I make breeches. And she turned around and said, see, you got somebody who makes breeches. I said, I make breeches because I used to make for the army, for the police force,
yes.
You see? He says, you can make breeches? I said, yep. Okay, he says, you have the material back. So, but now, this is a woman. I'm used to with men, I did the woman's clothing, but I did women's jackets, not breeches, jackets. So now I got to take a measurement. But there was a mirror. He says, Astara se pula se dumbam se kako da mu deva mera sa. He told me, really, why are you waiting for?
So you had to figure out how to measure her.
To take a measurement. Mm-hmm. Now I know how, but this is a woman, it's a man.
Yes.
It's different. See, the important part is the in Greek they call it lekani. The crutches.
Yes.
So I said, okay, boss, I give up. Give me the measurements. I said, I'm sorry. I said, she says, why are you worried? She says, that's not my first time. Yeah. She says, it's not my first time. Come on, I said, you know your job, do it. I said, okay. I said, allow me. So I had to take a measurement from between the legs and down the length to the petitza.
Right, to the heels.
Yeah, to the heel. You see, Mola, I'm sorry, Mola. She says, that's okay. It's too rough. They go like this. I go pull up. That's okay, boss. And go, okay. Please, I'm okay. So we now pray to you.
So you made the breeches.
I made the breeches.
Right.
Yeah.
And when did you start your own business? Did you start your own business in London?
1952, 1953.
1953. And what was it called?
No, I the new service.
New service.
Yeah.
Yes, Taylor. And how long was the new service business going?
Oh, 1951. 51 in the my father, what he did, because my father was here.
In Toronto.
He didn't mean to do that, but ne možеше da me ima mene u jedan grad i to je u drugi grad. Ti veli toliko godini samo veše u stari kraj. I tu se sam, to be family. So he phoned. Imaš jedan od Banica Pavle, imaš jedan restaurant next to me. And he used to feed me for free.
In London?
In London. Sometimes I leave my shop and go and help him, I see, late at night. So it was very nice, he feed me for free, so I want to do something for him too.
Yes.
He phoned there one day. Probably didn't realize it was my father. He says, "Shobar Shekote because they're busy."
Mm-hmm.
He says, 10 o'clock at night because they're busy. He says, "Mufon of Doma, no answer." Say I phoned him to the coffee shop in Timmy Village because they're busy. Show busy. Oh, Vasile, pomože to tuka. Šta pravi, veli, šta pa doma sam, veli. Pavle, don't use my son. And my son će si doj doma tu, veli, Toronto.
So your father decided
for you for me to leave
Toronto.
London and go to Toronto.
And when you came to Toronto, were you continued to be a tailor?
I was going to
Yes.
open up a shop at Dundas, Gerard and Young.
Yes. And what happened?
And what happened, a Greek guy, he met me there, they used to call it the Steele's Tavern. So the owner, Basil, this guy was with me, a Greek guy, old man, he says to him, Chirete Oy, in Greek. He says, yeah, I know him. I seen him in the restaurant. He says, "Na Vasil Dete." He says, "Yeah, I know." He says to me, "What are you doing?" "Yeah, bombing around, Muveli Voi, Nanio. Bombing around, Veli." "No, Muvela, Mr. Steele, I'm looking for a downtown shop." I say, "Well, that's a good idea. Good idea, Veli, but I need somebody, Veli, honest like you." "How do you know more honest?" "Because I know your dad, really, you must be like your dad." "What do you want me to do, Muela?" "I don't drink, Muela. I don't care about liquor, Muela. So what am I going to do, Muela?" "No, I want you really to look after the cash register and also to purchase the alcohol for the business."
So you had a restaurant?
He had a dining room, tavern.
Tavern.
I said, "I'm sorry," I said, "I'm not too keen," I said, with the liquor, I said, alcohol and that stuff. I said, I don't like to deal with people like that," I said. He says, "No, that's the way I want you," he says, "to take over. For pianisti, really, people drinking and do that, lots of them, really. But no people like you, really. So I want you to take over my business. And you never know tomorrow what's going to happen." Tiene Maya Celat with his
So they
wife,
didn't have any
his
kids.
children. She was an Italian, it was a Greek. Anyway, very nice people. So they went to, they decided to go to Bahamas or something. And he says to me, "The place is yours." Okay, so I took over. When they come back, before they come back, I took an inventory of the place, what liquor they have. I cast her out how much money is involved. And I said to the hostess, the Pearl, she was in charge, I want to cash count. I said the money, how much money I'm taking over. So we checked that too. I put everything on a piece of paper and put it in my pocket. So when the time comes when they come back, they're going to have to give me a figure, and I'll have to give them a figure. So anyway, I took over. Everything went fine. When they come back, I want to give them everything back now. And he says to me, I calculate, he says, my stock, he says, and the cash, and I'm short, he says, $800. I said, where you're short? He says, I think it's between the cash, he says, and the inventory. I said, well, I think, I say, you count or you figure it's wrong. Because I'm giving you, I say, $800 over, more than what you're supposed to have. He says, how come? I said, well, here it is. Here's how much you left. Here's the cash you left. Here's when I took over, and this is what I'm giving you. He says, I'm very sorry. My mistake. Ever since that day, Docope Fiestamo used to put $50 in my pocket too.
Mm-hmm.
Every week, $50 in my pocket.
And how long did you work with him?
And my father died in 1951. My father died in 1951. I was with him since from 1949 to 1959, 3 years.
So then, that led you into the restaurant business, right?
And that, yeah.
And how did you
I went to
begin
the
then?
tavern, to the liquor, the business, yeah.
You went to the tavern business.
My father, when my father died, he had the restaurant. So my father died, and I took over the restaurant.
The one on Kingston.
On Kingston Road. Mm-hmm. And I kept it. I kept it till 1940. No, 1952. I kept it because I was married. Yeah, I was married to Velika.
Right.
52. And I sold it to a fellow by the name Nick Papamarco. He was from Kostur.
Mm-hmm. Another Macedonian?
Macedonian. Mm-hmm. And $60,000 at that time.
In 1952.
52.
Okay.
And then I went to open up the Times Square on Young and Queen. Times Square restaurant, that was a big place. That's where we made the money, actually.
So you bought Times Square?
Times Square, yeah.
By yourself, or did you have a partner?
No, my brother.
Your brother, you and your brother.
My brother Vangel.
And he was
the two of us.
It was a big
But I was
tavern?
the runner.
Mm-hmm.
See, because my brother, he was never had a, big operation. Anyway, we worked very good. I sold it to Papa Marco Nick, and Nick, he renewed the place, put a new fixtures, everything. He spent $60,000 on the top for new equipment. In the meantime, the poor guy, he had the place open for 3 months. When he reopened it, heart attack, and he died.
Oh dear.
And he left $60,000 mortgage to his wife. Plus he owed me $12,000 when he bought the place from me. He gave me 24, and he owed me another 22,000. Well, Nick died. Companies he owed money to, they jumped. He had a first store on Bloor and Carleton College. Fracot, tam prodavate I praeše Fracoti. Very smart guy. Anyway, we had to go to a court all those creditors, they wanna, the furniture from the house, they wanna sell the house to recuperate the money he
Yes.
owes, the car and so on, confiscate. And also he owes me $12,000 now.
Right.
Well, I had a lawyer, a Jewish boy, Michael, and you go to the court, ask the hall to have a shekoto.
Yes.
We go there, he said, star judge, he called their names, he moved it in, to the creditors. You guys, you have to know, Mr. Tracus, which is me, he's 100% entitled for the operation. You guys are very low, so you have to beat him to be able to take over. So who's going to pay him the $12,000 to take over, his share, to be able to compete with the other creditors? So nobody wants to put $12,000. No, I already put so much. Nobody. Ta ženата седи така и си превах се бриш. His wife. They had no children. Only one nephew imaya. And se briši plači. And my father това първо беше умрен. И реку, can you imagine what money do to people? Сега не му стига на жена да се загуби мажно. Now he's all alone. Се куќа да му земат, плачки да му земат, кара да му земат. What kind of life is this? Bloody money. И си реку, and my mother widow too. И му каза, Michael, yeah, really, I want to talk to you, Mula. Ask the judge to give us Mula 5 minutes. Well, what do you got to say? I got something to say, Mula. Your Honor, can we be excused with Mr. Tracus? He has got something to tell me in private. Yes, please. Mr. Tracus, please come up with an answer, really. I can't get no answers from these people, really. They are vultures, Prevaka. They are vultures, really. They want nothing but money. Please, you come up with something. And I say, yes, Your Honor, we will. There's a special Michael. Your mom, she's a widow. Yeah, my mom, she's a widow. What good life they have, Mula? Tell me. What is it they need, Mula? They need money, Mula? To do better, Mula? Did you see that poor lady, Mula? We're talking about money, Mula, and she's crying tears, Mula. Those tears, you know how much they're worth, Mula? Let's do something. Are you crazy, really? What are we going to do? I don't want no money, Mula. Simple as that, Mula. I'm young enough. We got lots of time to make money, Mula. Not this way, Mula. Not with tears. Oh, boy, you crazy. You crazy. You tell the judge that, Mula. You really want me to say you don't want the money? Yes, Mula. Okay, that's your money. Mr. Tracus, please tell us what we're going to do. Lawyer, Your Honor, Mr. Tracus seems to me is losing his marbles. Well, tell us about the marbles. Tell us about the marbles. He wants no money. It is skokna. You can't do that. I lose so much to you. I lose so much to you. Hey. He's the boss. The place was his before. The place is his now. And if he doesn't want the money, that means the place stays whoever bought it before. And that's from Mrs. Papamarco. You see.
Yes, and then over here we have another picture, and this is a picture of around that time.
No, this was a christening. It was not a wedding, christening.
For your
When Linda was born.
for your daughter.
Yeah, for my daughter.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. For my daughter, for Linda.
And the whole family's there, right?
Right. The Numco and the uncle from Australia, my mom there, and my children. Yeah.
Great. And during this time, Costa, you had your tavern at Times Square,
My tavern.
banquet hall.
Yes, that's after that. No, 1964. Yeah, just about. Linda, she was born. Yeah, it was a little after that.
It was after that.
Yeah.
Right. So how long did you have your place, your
Times Square?
the Times Square banquet hall?
Times Square restaurant.
Restaurant.
It was a tavern, yeah. We had it for 9 years.
9 years.
9 years, yeah.
And then you also had a banquet hall, right?
We had in the same
Time?
in the Times Square we had another room which is a banquet, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
Yeah.
so that was in the 60s.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
And did you continue with the restaurant business after that, or?
Well, Times Square we sold it in sold it 1969. No, I think 1979.
So you had it for quite a while.
1979 because
1979.
we had it about 18 years. We had it Times Square.
Did you have any other businesses in the meantime?
Yes, I had at the YMCA.
Yes.
YMCA, they were building it on Shepherd and Bayview, and because they knew me from previous in downtown area, they gave me concession to open in the YMCA, and which was a very successful little place. It was not very big, but they had to do with members. And it was a very, very successful
It
operation.
was a restaurant?
Yes, it was let's say it was a snack bar. Mm-hmm. Yeah, snack bar. Mm-hmm. And that gave me meeting a lot of people, because in the YMCA, people they can afford to be a member. And it was a very prestige type of an operation.
Mm-hmm. And you continued with that?
Yes.
Until?
Well, until I retired, 1978, 79.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I retired.
Okay, and then as you retired, did you get involved in well, first of all, before you retired, were you involved in the Macedonian community, in churches, organizations? I know you were busy with your restaurant and family.
Honestly speaking, I was not involved very much, because I was always in business and always to deal with business operations instead of religion or public relations and that. I can't brag about other things.
So you retired, after you retired, you
Yeah.
became more involved?
1989, I retired totally,
Yes?
and then I got involved with St. Clement's Church. I was going to, first I was thinking of Sveta Nedela because it was a new land purchased, and my brothers were involved there, and I got to know the priest over there, and I helped the priest. I found some equipment he needed for the office, and I donated him. Big desk is still there, oak desk. I bought it for myself. Then when I went to see him over there, he got nowhere to write a piece of paper, and I said, "I'll get you one." And I got home, and I got the guy with the truck. I said, "Take this desk to the church," and that's what started. Then I supplied them with the fridges and the stove and the other things in the kitchen, and then we got involved with the church, and that's what seems to me began to be involved with the churches, and then I become member at the St. Clement's Church, and now I'm part of the walls of the St. Clement's Church.
Yes. How long have you been at St. Clement?
Well, the exact year when I started, I'm not sure, but 7, 8, but 9 years now.
You've been at St. Clement for about 9 years?
9 years.
And what is
Yeah.
your function?
Well, my interest for the church still is, as it was, to see the church progress, to satisfy the people are born here as Macedonians, but born in Canada, and people coming from Macedonia in Canada. So, according to our Constitution, the Constitution says to serve your motherland, which is in Macedonia, and the country you live in it as you become a national Canadian.
Yes.
You see, so those two, they are yours. So you have to belong to them, and you have to take care of them. I see.
And I know that you're very involved in the church, in the actual church activities.
All right.
And we have a picture there of you at one of the functions. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, here, I don't know, it was a
Banquet?
Banquet, yeah, it was a Sveti Stefan. It was a one function which is we celebrated religiously.
Yes.
I see, and here is a Gospodin Stefan, which is the
Archbishop.
No, he's the diacon.
Oh, the diacon, yes.
Diacon, and Vlade, he was the president
Yes.
at that time,
Right.
and I don't know my position of Shogesh, but that was whatever with Vlade, whatever we were doing it together. So and they call me, I'm the chairman of the church.
Yes.
Now they have it registered as the chairman of the church, that's okay. I like the church to operate. Now the only thing is that this is what's her name, Maya.
Maya, yes.
Yeah, we have a disagreement with Maya because I believe what the Constitution reads, which is
Yes.
taka treba da bidi. You see.
Now, Chichko Costa, your English is certainly very good now. How did you learn English?
When I came to Canada, my father, he was determined. He said, "Cinco, this is your country now to make you bread and butter." So you make sure you associate with people involved in the law and also in education. The first thing he did for me and my sister, the widow sister, he hired teacher from the school to come 2 nights a week spend with us.
You had a tutor. English tutor.
At the house.
Wonderful.
And she came, her name was Edna. She came in our house and she started from kindergarten. Started get used to your name, because my name was Acosta. And then they changed it to Gus, G-U-S. She was my sister, she was a Magdalene. See, Ania became Magda. See, so those things. So she says, you got to get used to the differences now. Magda instead of Magdalene. Costa, Gus instead of Costa. Then, my father, first he was registered as a Dimku, but the insurance company, they sent executive of theirs, he says, that name Dimku, he says, sounds like a really foreign word. He says, can you have this businessman, he says, to change it to more English? So he come, Mr. Brown, his name was. He came and he says to my father, Bill, we had a discussion in our insurance company, and they say your name is a little bit Dimku, a strange name, more Latin, more Greek, more. He says, how about if you change it to a different? He says, what? Well, he says, any grandfather's name or father's name or something, he says, He says, okay, my father's name was Traiche. He says, leave it with me. So they end up with Tricus. Itaco Claus had Tricus. And when I end up Tricus. He started crying Dimkoi.
Dimkoi.
Yeah, Dimkoi. Yeah.
Yes, right. And we have a picture here of you receiving some certificates. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, it was. This was a good
recognition certificate.
Recognition of the yeah.
For your work
right
at
the church. Yeah.
When do you usually go to the church? How much do you volunteer?
I never missed one Sunday. I was always, ever since I don't know how many years now, I help at the church. I never missed.
Since 90?
Sundays.
Yeah.
90, before that. Before
1990?
that, 90.
When you retired?
Yeah.
Since you retired, you joined the church?
Yeah.
And you're there every week?
I'm there.
Yes.
And during the week too, if we didn't have no help.
Right.
I phoned the church and I asked the priest, I said, you need any help? I said, my phone number. You see, so.
Great. Well, that's wonderful volunteering, Chicho Costa.
No.
And here's a happy picture of you cooking up a turkey.
Yeah, this Thanksgiving, but this Thanksgiving from Australia. We had 2 girls here, friends of Donna's, my daughters,
yes,
visiting us, and it happened to be Thanksgiving. So they stay for Thanksgiving here with us at the farm.
Yes.
So it's too bad they don't have that picture here.
And that's your daughter?
That's my oldest daughter, Linda.
Linda, can you tell us a little bit about your children as they grew up and how they're doing?
Well,
Linda,
she's married, and she's working for the government on employment and pension center plan.
Does she have children?
She had a boy and a girl.
Yes, their names?
Stephanie and Michael.
Wonderful.
And they're Stephanie. She's now she just finished her course about designer. woman's
Clothing?
clothing. Yeah.
Also, she's following, she has the same
Yeah,
talent as
yeah,
her grandfather.
yeah.
Yes. And your other
And Michael,
children, yes?
Michael is heading an air conditioning business.
Yes.
Her brother, Linda's son, and Bill is my second oldest son. Bill, Vasil. He has two boys. Stephen is the oldest one, and Stephen is very active, and is also active at the church. He's a member of the committee, and he's looking after the church's all services, electrical and heating and air conditioning and all that. And Paul, his brother, he just finished. He's coming home for Easter. He's international, World's international investment in
Banking
and banking advisor.
advisor.
So he's got 2 diplomas worldwide. One more is expecting to receive, and it's free. He's in Africa.
He's in Africa.
Yeah.
Great. And your other daughter, your younger daughter?
Donna, she's the general manager of the Ontario Criminal Court.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Коста, ако нещо заборавивме или нещо сакаш друго да кажеш на македонски?
Well, што има за
тие што ќе гледат луѓето, младите, што ќе го видат ова видео со тебе, некој адвајс, некој совет?
Well, најарното е и најблагодарното, благодарните лафои се, to never refuse майкиниот јазик и майкиното говорење. Майкините advice, оти нема други човек поќе да те милва од мајката што си ја милва чедото. Yeah.
Yes. And Costa, can you tell us one more time your awards from St. Clement, why they were given to you?
Well, Sivela, to my feelings and understanding, I enjoy what I'm doing.
So you're volunteering for the church.
And I'm proud I'm volunteering for the church because to me is a part of my heart, a part of my life.
Absolutely. Now, for people who, when they go to church on Sunday, what do you do?
If there's a person new, let's say as a new person walks into the church,
yes,
the first thing I like to greet him by shake hand and say, welcome home. Because the church is the home we belong to.
Yes.
The house is the home you live in it, but it doesn't give you the same feelings as the church does.
So you help the people to get the candles?
Do you have the candles?
You're at the candle shop?
Yes. I help them price-wise. Ako pula oti, se čepka, babata, don't worry. Ti plati utre, don't worry about it. Zamisli se što ti treba. Gospodine, ovo je nikad tuja crkvata, ne bega. Yeah, I have it right here. Yeah, eto je čovjeku. Mi daje. Yeah. We're talking, just like we're talking now, he really, questa really. Of course, he missed the dongle. Yeah. They give you $50
Because?
to give it to the church. You see? He says, because we're talking about the church needs help. И му вела, не сакако не шо. Цели се туа што сте му вела 10 души, ако кажем по $1, му вела, се $10.
Да.
So that's the $10 to the church organization. What that means, I see. So he has a sick wife, and his wife, they were very good friends with my wife, and they were talking many times. And I say, I usually say, when he say hello to me, then he goes, okay, Costa, bye, bye. Say hello to Olga. That's his wife.
Mm-hmm.
She's sick, she's paralyzed. I said, and now the guy just, you're always talking about Olga. I want to donate to the church.
Yeah, so you help people
Just
with
drive you
their
to the Olga.
donations. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Great. And I know you help with the collection too, right?
Yes, I do.
Every Sunday?
Yes,
Yes.
and I'm very proud when I see people that donating from their heart.
That's
That's it.
important.
That's right.
That's
It's
very
not-
important.
Yeah.
And Costa, when you came from London, we know that you had a tailoring shop there. Did you in Toronto have a tailoring shop at all, or did you start
No.
right away with the restaurant
No,
business?
tell us no, because when I came here, my father, he was already in business, and this is the reason he brought me here from London, to be able to help him in the business,
With the restaurant business?
which is a good thing I did. It didn't last long.
Because then you found
He
a
had the
job.
hemorrhage in the
That's
brain, and yeah.
So you took over.
Then I end up with a place, yeah.
And how about your mom? Did she live a longer life? When did she?
My mom passed away in 19... Say, Mama, it's, 69. No, 1979. 1979, hombre.
So she was able to see you progress with your business.
Oh yes,
and-
oh yes, oh yes. She was a very proud woman,
Yes.
very proud. She died, before she died, she called us in her room. And she was reading a Latin Bible book. And she can tell you what happened 3,000-4,000 years ago. Let's see, she can go back with her mind. Anyway, she called us in her room, and she says, now you're all here. She says, I developed a room full of gold and strong foundation. Now, Mama, that's... She goes like this. I say, we built strong foundation. Tamil, nobody can knock it down. But it's up to you people. I build it, not to carry it. I see, now to carry it, to be able not only to copy what you're doing, to copy the same. Idabite fuduli sotemelo. And continue to build the foundation,
So this is the advice that she left with
the
you.
advice. And she says, I'm going with pride.
She was proud because she could
I'm-
see how strong
Yeah.
your family
I'm
was.
going with pride. And my grandchildren, and this, now you ask anyone how you feel about your dad, or how you feel. You know what they're going to say? We're proud of Dedo. The one from Africa, I says, Polly, he received his second diploma. I said, Polly, Dedo is proud when he hears news like that. He said, Dedo, you are the one give us this diploma. We are proud of you. Without you, we would receive no diploma, no nothing.
So you had a very, very
Yeah.
close family,
Very close.
very close family.
Grandchildren, the children, and all of them.
And you and Chico Costa, what would you like to say to the younger generation?
What I say to my generation, to my children, I say to all of them,
All the children.
all the children. First, be lovable. Forgiveness, that's the pride person has, only forgiven, not only gives.
Forgiveness.
Forgiveness. Like my mom, she used to say, Chedo, it doesn't matter how much money you give to the church, doesn't matter how much property you give to the church, like some people do, nivjeta si dava, kuja se dava, ako nema milva.
To love. To love what you're doing.
That's right. If he does things on the side against the church, you see, what you give him in the artificial product, it doesn't mean a thing.
So it's the love that
That's the love.
we share.
That's the appreciation, and the pride. And that's what I say now. We're sitting over a cup of coffee. And this is every day. Sitting for a cup of coffee. And some of them, they're talking nonsense. Some of them are talking about alcohol, how much you can drink. Some they'll say, oh, we know we play cards, this and that. I didn't get home till 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. And my wife, she couldn't sleep because I wasn't home, this and that. And I say, it should be a shame. And now they got used to it. They say, hey, don't talk like that in the front of Costa. Because he doesn't like it. I say.
Well, I'm sure they take that advice privately, and it's very good advice, Chico Costa. On behalf of the Canadian Macedonian Historical Society, I'd like to thank you for sharing with us very interesting experiences.
Well, with God's, love and God's forgiveness and God's given to us, we should be proud. We should be proud to say we are Macedonians, because I start with Apostle Paul. Apostle Paul, he was told by Jesus Christ, Saul, Saul, that's his name before he became Paul. Saul, Saul, you going to a place where they call it Macedonia. They know me, but they don't recognize me, because Jesus never went to Macedonia. But the Macedonians, they're using it in their heart, and they used to say, Slave Bože, Slave Bože. I see. So that's covers the whole Bible.